Here with Robert Cross. The track sounds great, man. That was
you.
Magnolia from your new album, Drop Dead Gorgeous. Good to see you, bro.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Good to see you, man. So what has been up? How you been?
Just finishing up on the album, like you mentioned. Actually finished with the album, to be specific. Just doing the legalese right now. Got everything copyright written. Done the distribution.
How was that?
BMI. It's just.
A pain in the ass.
Yeah, it's just. You don't know it, so you're going through it for the first time, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
you need this, you need that. Oh, and
Yeah.
I was going around on the publishing websites, both ASCAP and BMI, and I had some online friends kind of direct me.
Who would you end up going?
BMI ultimately.
Nice. That's what
And then I did the same thing. I did DistroKid as well. Like you told me you went through there previously.
Simplified it is, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Very, very simplified. So you already uploaded your entire album?
No, actually, the holdup is actually the album cover.
Oh, just waiting for the... Okay.
Yeah, because you
fine.
need the album cover to upload it, where they'll ultimately put it up on the distribution sites, which I'm shooting in Las Vegas in 2 weeks. So we'll be driving out to Las Vegas and have a model flying out, Nicole Kang.
Woo, Nicole Kang.
Kang from Canada, the whole international endeavor.
Very cool, very cool.
Got a makeup artist, got a photographer lined up.
We've got to show our love to those Canadians.
I've been to Canada once. I've been to Windsor, Canada. So.
Oh yeah. That's
right across the border. I think you said you've been there too.
Passage into Canada.
Yeah, right. Right when you cross that border, you see nothing but casinos.
That's how you do it.
Yep.
That's how you do it, man. That is exciting.
Yeah, I'm very excited because this album's been long
time coming. I mean, God, I've known you 12 years.
Yeah, since
13?
07.
I keep wanting to say 13, but am I wrong?
Yeah, well, no, we're at 07, so I think we're going on year 13,
okay.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember your music back then, but where it's at now, like, and then obviously this album, it's like, whoa, amazing, man.
Well, thank you. It was very flattering.
So tell me about it, like, tell me some stories, how everything came to be.
I actually started writing it shortly after we met, and I was in school at the time. I was going to UCSB and finishing up with that, and then I had some personal, things come out. I had some family members pass, and my company I was at went out of business.
Belly up.
Yeah, so it definitely, things got a little turbulent there for a few years for me. So
True, man.
The fact that I'm here talking to you about this album is a little bit of a miracle in and of itself, because it seemed like the universe, with a lot of the whole setbacks, both personal and professional, were really, it's hard to focus on art and it's hard to focus on music when you get hit with that kind of adversity. So I was able to get through a lot of those personal things that had popped up and was able to finally focus and finish on the album, especially these last 5-6 months or so. And so I'm very excited to sit here with you and tell you that, yes, the music is finished, the recording is finished, and we're just doing the legalese, and you're going to shoot the album cover in a couple weeks, and then boom, finally after all these years, something, I have something to share with the world,
Yeah, for me it's crazy because we've been around each other, and obviously supported each other's music, even though we've kind of done our own thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I've watched it, like this album, I guess what it has become, this album, like evolve over the years, where it was and where it is now. And like, man, it's amazing. It was good then. I knew it had a lot of potential, but where it is now, I think people are going to so dig it. Like, I can't tell you how many times, because I have the album, and I've probably listened to it 30, 40 times straight through. That's how fun it is. that's what I was going to say about your album is it's dynamic. It's like from start to finish, there's something for especially rock lovers and popular music lovers. Not that I would ever say you're pop.
Well, it is very meat and potatoes, you know.
Right. But it has such a commercial aspect to its sound, and it's very dynamic. It's very colorful. There's so much. It's not just in your face heavy rock. Some of it is, and then some of it's some tender, ballad-esque type songs and some really impressive instrumental type sounds. And all in all, man, I just think this is going to be, like I said to you, I meant it. I think this is amazing. I think it's a great album.
Well, thank you. It was very flattering.
And
you've been very supportive on this. I've had, both on a I don't know, I want to say for support, emotional support, and whenever I've hit walls, coming to you saying, hey, I don't think this sounds good, or I think I've kind of hit a wall here. Can you help out? And also just like on a performance, getting you to play on a few of the songs and add your style of playing, and lead work, and you did some additional vocals and stuff on it that definitely help elevate it to a level that I couldn't have done on my own. And I was just very, I was kind of never really was comfortable with playing lead guitar. I do a lot of the lead work on the album, but that's kind of just out of necessity, you know what I mean? And but thankfully you were able to kind of come in and fill a lot of those spots, and especially with the kind of lead work I wanted, for some of these songs that I kind of heard in my head. I was just like, I know Dave can do this. It definitely, Dave could do it better and probably a lot quicker than I ever could, So I was always, I was very grateful that you were able to contribute, and I was taking time out of your schedule, and I know you got your own thing going on and stuff, so I was very appreciative and grateful that you were able to do that.
I don't even think it was a question for me, man. I mean, like, the moment you approached me about it, I was like, I'm on it. You know what I mean? I mean, we all got busy schedules and everything, but like for my music, I wouldn't have been where I'm at. And I'm not saying I'm where I'm at. But I'm proud of it. Mm-hmm. But I would have never been where I'm at without your help. You helped me with your song, teach me kind of really how to take songwriting to the next level. Which, without it, I would have just probably hit a wall, and not knowing where to go, and just kept stumbling until I figured something out.
Yeah, right.
But when you approached me, and obviously I was listening to the material.
Yeah, you're pretty familiar with it.
Yeah, especially several like Magnolia.
Yeah.
Which is, by the way, everybody I'm a huge fan of. And
thanks.
I mean, I'm a fan of the entire album, but that one just, it's just a heavy hitter. It's like if it was a batting order, that would be the clutch number 4 hitter.
Yeah, right.
But so when you approached me and you were really cool about it. You're like, look, when you got time, pick what you like, and then see what you can do, and so a lot of the music and our styles kind of resonated enough with each other that I felt like this is a no-brainer. I'm glad to do it. I'm glad whatever I can contribute to make, it, and I always know how your contributions to my first album, Silver Strand, were really important to me. It meant a lot. And obviously others like Derek and Robert and Jeff. There was quite a few in my last album. So I had a lot of, people help me. But, like I said, I mean, I think that's what makes music better than it can be. Like one person obviously can be really talented and deliver a good music. But when you have, also other people that are talented that can add to it and make it better, it's kind of metaphoric in life, but it does. And I think your album is a testament to that too. You had great songs already. You have really good songs already, and I think all the contributions that everybody else gave to it, I think made it great. I think your album's great. So from the beginning, I know you were working with a guy named Tim, and I know you told me you've known this guy for I know he runs Mountain Dog Studios in Oakview.
Oakview, yeah.
Okay, just making sure I'm saying it right. And I think he did a fantastic job on your album. So tell me a little bit about him, so I can know like how this all came to be. Because I mean, obviously, I've got the outsider's perspective, but I'm curious from you.
Yeah, I met him briefly when I was a teenager, when he had just opened his studio. Maybe it had been open a few years, but he was going around, kind of posting, little advertisements and stuff. You know, I worked at a music store at the time when I was a teenager, and he came in, had a business card that I kept with me. And the aspiring musician I was at that time, I definitely was like, yeah, I'll give this guy a call. And it didn't come to pass at that time. You know, the band I was in and stuff, we weren't in a position where we could afford, nor were we, you know, really mature enough to go to the studio anyways. But over the years, you know, I started doing some recording on my own, you know, with recording technology and stuff evolving as it is. I was able to do a lot of it in my kind of home studio, my makeshift home studio. And after I took it as far as I felt I could on my own, and with the skill set I had and the technology where it was at, I finally decided to buckle down. And you know, it got to a point where I hit that wall, and I couldn't see how this could even progress any further. And yet I knew it could, you know. And it was at that moment where it wasn't really a bit of humility. It was just like being realistic. Going, okay, well, clearly I'm hitting a wall, and it's probably in my own best interest to, you know, invest a little, you know, and save myself some time and a lot of headaches and go to a pro. And Tim, you know, we hit it off right away, you know, and he seemed to really like, he does a lot of projects, you know, he's got his own studio. It's like a full-time gig for him. It's not just a side thing that he does, you know, and so he does a lot of commercial work and a lot of stuff, you know, related to churches and stuff, right. and promotional, does some...
he's a hell of a musician, too.
Does some radio stuff, and yeah, he's insanely...
I mean, like,
he plays,
what?
like, I think keyboards are his actual first instrument, and beyond that, it's like, you know, he does guitar, bass... drums, you know, he actually played mandolin on Lavishly Lavender. He plays drums on the album.
Yeah, and I want to highlight that for just a moment. Lavishly Lavender, that, like, I had not heard that song. Perhaps maybe we recalled it.
Okay.
When I heard that song with that mandolin, I was like blown away because it reminded me of, you know, pretty much one of my favorite artists is Richie Kotzen.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Huge fan. Anyways, it reminded me of one of his songs from his What Is album, which I played over and over and over until it literally started skipping on my iPod, you know. Anyways, he added that, and then he did several of your other songs. Was it Avarice? One of them where he just added some seriously lush guitars, like sounds, and he did your harmonies. Well, he arranged your harmonies.
Most of them, yeah.
Oh my God, it was amazing. So...
yeah, he did the mandolin. You know, like when I wrote Lavishly Lavender, it definitely felt very Birdie Leadon, Eagles era. Yeah. You know, so, and he did a couple little guitar. Most of the guitar work I did. You know, obviously he did leads on several songs, but he added a few little guitar parts, but they're real minor. He plays bass on Fall to Pieces and did the acoustic drums. On the album and stuff like that. The one rule I had on this album was I wanted to keep it very meat and potatoes, and I didn't want any keyboards on the album. I just, you know, I love keyboard. Don't be wrong. I love piano. Yeah, I love piano rock and all that. But just I felt for my I don't know, my opening statement, if you will.
Oh, it's your album. Yeah, you know, you're right.
I just want it to be very meat and potatoes, and you know, I got kind of equal part. I think you kind of touched on this, kind of equal part electric and acoustic. You know. And there seems to be acoustics in most of the songs, and you know, a lot of guitar solos and stuff. Yeah, right. You know, and courtesy of you, a lot of them. You know, I do some of the lead work, but you do.
It was fun.
You do probably about as much, if not more, of it. You know, than I did. You know, I got my buddy Scott Wintermute to play bass on a few songs, and which I was really grateful for. He's a super talented, super nice guy. You know, just super talented bass player and stuff. So would have loved to have had him on more of the album, but I was glad that he was able to contribute to a few of the songs, you know, and I think the album, the songs are better because of it, you know, like you were saying, you know, get more people to contribute, kind of add that different angle, that different skill set that I don't have, and so you don't wind up with an Eddie Murphy film where it's written by Eddie Murphy, produced by Eddie Murphy, directed by Eddie Murphy, you know, it's like, oh,
produced, wrote, recorded,
nothing, super talented, but it does get a little
distributed by Eddie Murphy.
How many flavors of vanilla can you have?
Right. Yeah, well, that's the thing is like. That is actually a great, like I say, I love using metaphors, but it's the way you think of life. Because it's like, man, you're just doing everything on your own, man. You just burn yourself out.
Yeah, right.
Even if you were Eddie Murphy. But it's like having people that are capable or talented. There's other people out there, you know, and I think bringing more people into the mix, especially when they can contribute, it just makes everything better.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so I think going forward, that's definitely something I'm going to even dive into even more. And stuff like this, you know, we can kind of bring these things to light and talk about it.
Yeah, right.
I think it's just so important. And, you know, I want to go into like life and just come together, everybody.
Yeah, right, yeah. Get real cosmic.
Well, let's face it. I mean, there's some truth to it, but yeah. So I know we talked about. I have an idea of what your time frame is for your album to be dropped, and it's coming. Like obviously, people are already hearing the single. You know.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Everything's recorded.
Is coming. But I'm curious the time frame. We're talking springtime, obviously, right?
Yeah, I don't have a hard date. The right now the key thing is finishing up on the legalese, which I have most of that tied up. The album shoot was actually going to take place this weekend, and just with most of the team, the photography team and the makeup artists, they're stationed in Las Vegas. The model Nicole is in Canada. I don't know what part of Canada. I don't know if it's Vancouver, Nova Scotia, or Toronto or something. But she'll be flying in.
Vancouver girls.
And yeah, right. And then of course I'll just be driving out there. So originally we were going to do it this weekend, but it was more convenient for everybody if it took place in a couple of weeks, the very end of the month, beginning of next month.
Right.
So I'll be driving out to Vegas. Nicole will be flying out there, and we'll do the photo shoot. And after that, I'll have the raw pictures, raw material, whatever you want to call it, that I'll submit to a graphic designer.
You said that you were going to be, while you're out there, you're going to do a podcast with this radio station interview, right? What was the name of that place?
Well, I don't know about Vegas necessarily. There's one in Canada.
That's what I was
in
referring
Toronto.
to. I'm sorry. Did I say Canada?
Yeah.
The one in Canada while you were up there.
Yeah, I think it's a song. It's a songwriter podcast. Yeah, you put me on the spot.
Oh, my bad. No, but I know that you were going to be doing that. That sounds cool. I'm excited.
I would love to. I've been to Canada once. I would love to, make it twice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
that sounds cool.
This is actually the first podcast or kind of promo anything that I've ever done. So
first of many for you. You know that's coming.
Yeah, right.
You know that's coming.
I'm more than willing to put in the work. The idea of being I have my Twitter account and
what's your handle?
Satin_band.
Okay.
And I have my YouTube page, which I plan on kind of uploading some videos, some acoustic performances.
Where can everybody find you there?
Satin Sounds.
Satin Sounds.
Yeah.
Sweet.
And I'll be working on that. I know little to nothing when it comes to like video editing and filming and stuff. So I know there's some software out there.
Two of us.
Yeah. Try to get the right kind of lighting and stuff. So
it's a challenge. I mean, you can be what do they always say? Jack of all trades
or master of none. Or whatever.
You know what I mean. That's why totally. If you can get support on those areas, do it.
Yeah.
And you'll learn something as you go.
Yeah.
And then maybe if you get to that point, just do some from time to time on your own. But for the most part, it's important to have that kind of help.
Absolutely. And the whole thing, not to be so self-conscious about it. Just seeing so many people are doing this, and even a lot of the YouTube videos or podcasts and stuff that I follow. If you go back to like the very beginning when they started off, it's like their microphones sound of a lower quality or the lighting isn't just right. And I guess the bottom line is not to try to be perfect from the get-go. You're going to learn from your mistakes, and you're going to stumble on the way and stuff. And inevitably, it's like looking at those baby pictures or those yearbook photos. You always kind of cringe. You're like, that's how I wore my hair when I was 14.
Yeah, it's like one of those. But the cool thing, I guess, if you want to go the optimistic route, it's like you wouldn't have gotten here without it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're battle tested, scarred, but you came through, and like this album just came out, this album has come as a result of that.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? So that's really cool.
Yeah.
So what do you think is going to come up next? What's next?
Right now I'm thinking of kind of the music's written and recorded and whatever, mixed, mastered, blah, 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 blah. It's more of a kind of in-depth, I am kind of transitioning gears into like, we're saying kind of like the YouTube channel, doing a little bit of videos, live performance, and some additional podcasts, such as, starting off with this with Bucci's Bar.
Sure. Oh, yeah, thank you. Thank you for the plug.
And kind of doing some literature, not I don't want to say literature, but just writing about the songs, maybe the inspiration on how they were written and the process of recording them, giving some additional depth to the material. So if people hear this stuff and if they like it, maybe they'll have more to consume. If they come to whatever, the YouTube page or the Twitter or something like that, then they'll see there's a little more depth and something that might engage people.
Right.
And it's something that probably, you know, I think I'm actually good at. And it's just sitting down and getting in that right kind of mindset and just realizing what I like. You know, I grew up with liner notes from CDs and stuff like that. Or whenever I'd go to like in Aunt's house or something when they had LPs, you know, sitting there going through and seeing, you know, all the liner notes and maybe kind of behind the scenes kind of things that would be shared. Like we were saying, you know, like behind the music. And
absolutely, man.
Keeping people engaged, or at least giving people an avenue. If they like what they hear, if they like what they see, then here's something. There's some substance, and this isn't something that's just thrown out there haphazardly.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally true. That's, I mean, as far as being artists, you know, growing up and you get to learn about all your favorite artists and your bands, and that's how we did it. We read everything that they did, watched every video, every VH1 behind the music, and you just you get to get a little bit of insight on how somebody lived their life, what inspired them, how they came up, and then how their art came. And I think that definitely is true for artists and people in general too.
Yeah, right.
Just anybody that, you know, is inspired by somebody else. So that was big, definitely big for me, and big for you, obviously. You know, so.
Yeah, so I mean that's immediately, you know, I got one album out of me. I like to think I have another one or two at least, you know.
If
so,
these people only knew how many songs you had behind the scenes.
See, that's kind of the thing. I've focused so much on songwriting.
Right.
This is what I've really appreciated as I've gone through this process, that now it's like trying to shift gears and like, you know, and I got so, and you know, you probably know better than the audience would, so I don't want to speak as if the audience would know, but I got so consumed with songwriting and wanting to be the best songwriter I possibly could that I now have a lot of ideas that I haven't quite finished, you know, because there are a lot of ideas that I started and just that creativity flowed, and that had to be kind of whittled down to the 12 songs that I released on this album. And now, you know, I'm kind of going through a little bit of a promo period, if you will, you know. And
putting on a different hat.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just shifting gears, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just you're so used to going in this direction. Now it's like, oh, okay, let me back up and go this direction now.
That's how it goes.
So
yeah, I mean, it is. Now that you mention it, it's true. It's like you're putting in your one aspect that, you know, that sometimes we don't all see, that people don't see, is like working your tail off. You're working your ass off behind the scenes, like just carving these songs, you know, creating these songs. Takes a lot of time, a lot of sweat and tears, right?
Yep.
That goes into it, and hours upon hours, and then revision upon revision, right?
Sometimes letting go. That's what I was finding out with this, is I was mixing and mastering and all this. It's like you always think, I don't know, you always think something could be done better, or I could sing that part better, or that guitar riff could be played better, or something, you know, and just realizing that I think to a certain extent as an artist, you kind of need that nitpicky kind of make something the best it could possibly can be. But the average person, which is like 99% of the population, aren't going to hear if you're slightly off on a guitar riff, or if you're slightly stuttering on a note or something. They're not necessarily going to hear that. They're just kind of hear a good song or a not good song. You know?
Yeah, totally. There's no different. Well, I mean, and that's understandable, because that's how I would, if I wasn't like involved with it, I'd think the same thing. But yeah, we get caught up too much.
Yeah, exactly.
You get a little bit, and I think some of us are naturally like that, and some of it's just because you're so close to the project, you get a little bit of perfectionism going on.
Yeah, it's letting go of that.
It's letting go. It's just like those. What are those the shuffleboard ones?
Oh, the curling or
hurling, you know, the curling. You know, they get all the way to where then they release and just let that damn thing do its thing.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And it's kind of like that. You just got to get to the point where you're like, I'm proud of what I've done. It's time to release it into the world. You hope the best, but you can't expect, you know what I mean? Because you never know how it's going to be received. But for the most part, you've done what you can, and then it's typically, most of the time, you get a good response.
Look, I mean, I'm doing this because I love doing it, but
exactly.
I don't know, nor do I have any expectations of anything. I'm doing this because I love to do it, and you know, the few friends and family I've shared this stuff with over the years have all been pretty supportive and positive about it, you know. So I'd like to think that, you know, I mean, like, haters are going to hate, you know, but I'd like to think that there are other people out there that might enjoy this as well. So if that's the case, that's just wonderful, you know. I mean, I plan on getting some physical product made, kind of a limited run of some CDs, and have some obviously for myself and to distribute to those friends and family. And if somebody out there wants to buy 1 or 2 off of me, that's more the better.
Get out there and do some shows. I'll be right there to back you up.
And I appreciate all the help that you've given, and for having me on the show.
I'm finally glad these people get to actually see you. Because you've always been. You haven't been, you've been kind of behind the scenes.
Lurking in the shadows.
Yeah. So now I basically get to bring everybody out to this. You've been huge.
Yeah, right. Get to see this beautiful mug.
Yeah, totally. James Dean over here. And and then it's going to be great because now people can see you as the great artist you are.
Well, thank you.
And
I hope so.
For you. And yeah, man, this has been a blast. We're good.
Cool.
Yeah, and can't wait to do the next podcast with you.
Yeah, look forward to it.
We'll see where everything's at after the album's released, and then talk about some stuff over there.
Sweet.
Want to say thanks to everybody. Hope you all had a blast. Well, I certainly did. This was a pleasure for me. Want to thank Switcher Studios for helping us out with this project. Apple Computers, and here's a plug for his album again. Gibson Fender guitars, Marshall and Corn-Free amplification. Guys, again, one more time, if you want to reach Robert Cross on his Twitter handle, one more time.
Satin_band.
And his YouTube.
Satin Sounds.
And then more to come. We're going to talk Facebook.
Everything's at a very nascent stage right now for me, so I'm just at that finishing up the album and just starting to do the social media promo. So more to come.
One day at a time. It's going to be a blast, man. All right, my friends, I'll talk to everybody later. We look forward to seeing you next time, okay? All right, everybody. Peace out. Have a good evening. And yeah. Until then.
Until then.
All right.